Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Alex. Today we're gonna continue with Python. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It's gonna help me a lot. Hit the notification button and write down in the comments section anything that might help me to learn faster, better, or give me a better learning experience. If you don't know who I am, my name's Alex, and last September I quit my job, started to do Bitcoin, and the technology about Web3, blockchain, smart contracts, and all of the applications that come with that technology is so impressive to me. I was like shocked how everything is so different, and I think the future is gonna be full of I think a lot of things gonna change to blockchain technology, to Web3 design-ish technology. So I decided to learn programming because my next dream job is to work in that field, blockchain field and smart contracts and anything related to Web3. So this channel is to share with you for the community, anyone who wants to learn, anyone who wants to, I don't just engage, anyone who wants to be part of the learning process that I'm going through. I'm sharing it with you 100% for free. And in the future, when I'm like capable of building an actual programs after I learn, I will share with you everything that I can to make your experience better. So if you want to help me, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and let me know in the comments what do you think about learning, what might help me to learn faster or better. So yesterday we did the car application, and it was a little bit complicated to me, but I've done it eventually. Today we're gonna continue with the same tutorial. I'm gonna leave the link in the description if you are interested. Let's get into it.
In our imaginary shopping cart is 60.
Nested loops.
In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about nested loops in Python. Using a nested loop basically means adding one loop inside of another loop. And with this technique, we can do some amazing things. For example, we can easily generate a list of coordinates. So a coordinate, as you know, is a combination of an x and y value. Let's
Right.
say 0 and 0.
Right.
Now let's say we want to generate a list of coordinates like this. So we have 0 and 0, then we have 0 and 1, then 0 and 2. Next, we're going to change x, so we're going to use 1 for the x. And once again, we're going to use these three values for the y coordinates. So 1
Right.
and 0, then 1 and 1, and 1 and 2. You got the point. We can easily generate these coordinates using nested loops. Let me show you. So we start with one loop, let's say for x
For
in range
X in
4. In this loop, we
range.
can generate values for the x coordinate. Let's print this on the terminal. Okay, so we get the values 0 to 3. Now, for each x, like 0, we should generate a few y values. So that is where we use a nested loop. So inside of this loop, we're going to add another loop. So instead of just printing x, first we want to add another loop.
Really?
Y
Can we do that?
range,
For
let's
y
say 3.
in
Now we can print
range.
x and y together. So print, here we use a formatted string to display coordinates like this. So we add parentheses. Inside of this parenthesis, first we need to add x, so curly braces, x, then a comma, followed by another set of curly braces, and y.
This is so
Let's run this
complicated.
program and see what we get. There you go. So we have these coordinates 0 and 0, 0 and 1, 0 and 2. Then
Let's
we have
see.
1 and 0, 1 and 1, 1 and 2.
Oh,
So let me explain
cool.
exactly how this program gets executed. So in the first iteration of our outer loop, x is 0, right? Now we are on line 2. Here we have a new loop, which we call an inner loop. In this inner loop, in the first iteration, y is going to be 0. So we'll print 0 and 0 on the terminal. Now the control goes back to line 2, or our inner loop. In this second iteration, y will be set to 1, but we're still in the first iteration of our outer loop. So x is still 0, but now y is incremented to 1. So that is why we see 0 and 1.
Right. 3
Once again,
zeros,
control
3
goes
ones,
back to
3
line 2.
twos, 3
We are in
threes.
the third iteration of our inner loop. So this will continue until this inner loop completes.
I
That is
see.
when y reaches 2. Because this range function generates number 0 to 3, but not including 3. So we'll have 0, 1, and 2. After this inner loop completes, then the control goes back to line 1. At this point, we're going to be in the second iteration of our outer loop. So x will be 1, then the control will be moved to line 2 or our inner loop. At this point, this range function is going to generate the numbers 0 to 3 one more time.
Right.
So this inner loop will be executed 3 times, and then we'll go back.
Interesting.
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 So this is how nested loops get executed.
Okay. Challenge. Yeah, I like that. Let's
Okay, here's an
let's
exercise
go.
for you, but this one is a little bit more challenging than the exercises we have done so far. So I really don't expect you to do it, but if you do it, wow, I will be so proud of you. So, see what I have done here? Using nested loops, I've written some code to draw this F shape. Can you see that? So let me give you a hint. First of all, we have this list called numbers. In this list, we have these values.
What is that,
2,
man?
5, 2, 2. These values determine the number of x's we have on each line. So, for example, the first item in this list, this tells us that we should have 5 x's on the first line. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the second line, we're going to have 2 x's. On the third line, we're going to have 5 x's, like this. So I've written code to convert a simple list of numbers into a shape like this. Now here's a tip for you. Using a for loop, you need to iterate over this list. In each iteration, you get one number. This determines the number of x's to be displayed on that particular line. So if you want to cheat, you can get this number and multiply it by a string that contains x. So if you multiply x by 5, you'll get 5 x's. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to use an inner loop here to generate a string that contains 5 x's. So imagine in Python, we cannot multiply a string by a number. So to solve this problem, we need a nested loop. So go ahead and spend 5 minutes on this exercise. And by the way, do your best to solve this. It is a little bit challenging, but it's not extremely difficult. It just requires a little bit of focus. You'll see my solution next.
Okay. Let me try. So we need to numbers equal 5, right? 2, 5, 2, 2, right? And then for number in range right numbers. Does it work this way? No, something's wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in range 5, right? Print for then number in numbers, print number equals number no, print x no. So we have 5, right? How are we gonna change that to x's? He said not to multiply it with x. We need to put nested loop. I don't know how to do that. Am I stupid or it's normal to be like that?
Alright, so first we need to iterate over all the items in this list. So for item in numbers,
For item,
or you could rename this variable to x underline count. That is the number of x's on each line. Okay? Now I told you that if you want to cheat, you can write code like this. Print
numbers.
x times x underline count. If you run this program, we get the same output. This is the beauty of Python. With Python, we can write expressions like this. We can multiply a string by a number to repeat it. A lot of other programming languages don't support this feature. But for this exercise, I wanted you to imagine that we don't have this feature in Python, so you would have to use an inner loop to solve this problem. Here's how it works. In the first iteration, x count is going to be 5. So we need to generate 5 x's. How can we do that? Well, let's say we define a variable called output, and initially we set it to an empty string. Now we need to add 5 x's to this string. So we can use another loop for count in range of x underline count. So we're using the range function to generate a sequence of numbers from 0 up to x count. So in our first iteration, x count is going to be 5. So range of 5 would generate the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this inner loop will be executed 5 times. That is exactly what x count represents. So now, in each iteration, we simply need to append an x to our output variable. So we said output plus equals x. And then, after this inner loop, we simply print the output. With this, we'll print 5 x's on the first row. Then we go to the second iteration of our outer loop. At this point, x count is going to be 2. Now, on line 3, we're going to reset our output variable to an empty string. So we start over. Then we go to our inner loop. This loop will be executed 2 times, so we'll append 2 x's to the output variable.
Yo, I don't understand. I feel so lost.
So see, it wasn't really that difficult, but it was slightly more
I really
difficult
don't
than
understand.
previous exercises. So let's run this program. There you go. Now, if you're adventurous, I want...
What's wrong now? Or what's wrong? It's exactly the same in here. It's not defined. Did you mean x count? No, I mean exactly what it is. What's wrong? Here is the same, exactly the same. Yo. Why it's not working? Fine. X count, okay, whatever. What are you talking about? Cannot assign to literal. Fine, I don't want to assign that. You made me to do that, but it's not working again. Numbers 52522. Okay. For x count in numbers output equals empty. For count in range x count. Ooh. Okay, again a spelling mistake.
to access to the output variable and in our numbers list to print an L here. Now in this tutorial, we're going to take a closer look at lists. So I'm going to define a list of names. Let's set them to John, Bob, Mosh, Sarah, and Mary. So if we print this list here, what we see on the terminal looks exactly like how we define our list. So we have square brackets, and in between these square brackets we have our items. So we have 5 strings in this list. Now we can also access an individual element using an index, just like how we can access an individual character in a string using an index. So here we type out square brackets and specify an index. The index of the first item in this list is 0. So let's run this program. There you go, we get John. If you want to print out the third element in this list, its index is 2.
Right.
So names of 2 returns Mosh.
Right.
Now we can also pass a negative index here. So -1 refers to the last item in this list, that is Mary. Let's run the program. There you go, we see Mary. If we pass -2, this returns the second item from the end of the list. So let's run the program. There you go, we get Sarah. So this is exactly like accessing individual characters in a string. We can also use a colon to select a range of items. For example, if you pass 2 colon, this will get all the items starting from the index of 2, that is Mosh here, all the way to the end of the string. So let's run this program.
Here,
there you go.
correct.
We get this list with 3 items, Mosh, Sarah, and Mary.
Right.
We can also specify an end index, let's say 4. So this will return all the items up to this index, but it doesn't include the item at this index. So when we run this program, we only see Mosh and Sarah. The item at index 4, which is the 5th element or the 5th item in this list, is not returned. So Mary is not returned. Okay. And also here we have default values. So if we leave out end index, this expression is going to return all the items starting from the index of 2 to the end of the list. Or if you leave out the start index, this expression assumes 0 as the default index, so it will return all the items from the beginning to the end of the list. Okay. And by the way, just like strings, these square brackets here don't modify our original list, they simply return a new list. For example, if we pass 2 here, you can see this returns a new list with 3 items. So if we go back here and print our original list of names right after, you can see it's not affected. So whenever we use square brackets with a colon to select a range of items, we can get a new list.
Okay.
And by the way, we can also modify any of the elements in this list. For example, let's say we made a mistake and the first item shouldn't be spelled John with an H, so we want to remove the H. That is very easy. So we access it using an index that is names of 0, and we set it to a new value like this. Now let's print our list. So you can see the first item in this list is now updated. So this is the basics of lists. And here's an exercise for you. I want you to write a program to find the largest number in a list. This is a fantastic exercise for beginners. So go ahead and spend a few minutes on this, and then come back, continue watching.
Okay. Largest number on list. Numbers equal, open list, 300, 125, 200, 525, 600. We need to put space here, and then here, I don't know, 340. Print. Largest number in the list. How can we do that? Largest number on the list. How can I do that? Print numbers, right? Like, should I use if statement? Fine. If bigger than 600 equals false. Print number and 0, else print 600. What? I don't know.
Alright, let's define a list of numbers with a bunch of random numbers. 3, 6, 2, 8, 4, and 10. Now to find the largest number in this list, we need to define another variable. Let's call it max. This variable will hold the largest number. Now initially we want to assume that the first item in this list is the largest number. So we set max to numbers of 0. We're only assuming that the first item is the largest number. Chances are our assumption is wrong. So we need to iterate over this list. We need to loop through it, get each item, and compare it with max. If it's greater than max, then we need to reset max to that number. So in the first iteration, we get 3, and max is also 3. Is 3 greater than 3? No, so we move on. We get the second number. Is 6 greater than 3? It is. So we need to reset max to 6. Once again, we continue. We get 2. Is 2 greater than 6? No, it's not. So we move on. Then we get 8. Is 8 greater than 6? It is. So we should reset max to 8. That is pretty easy. So here we need a for loop. For number.
For
In numbers, colon.
number
Now we
in
need to check to see if this number
numbers.
is greater than max. So if number is greater than max, colon, then we need to reset max. So we set max to this new number. That's all we had to do.
That's
So
it?
let's print max and run our program. We can see the largest number in this list is 10. It
How?
doesn't matter whether this number is at the end of the list or at the beginning.
How?
So if I move 10 and put it right at the beginning,
Right.
we should still see the same result. Let's run our program. We still see 10. If I put this somewhere in the middle, our program should still work. Let's put it right after 2. Run the program. We still get 10.
2D lists. Okay.
In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about two-dimensional lists in Python.
Mm-hmm.
Two-dimensional lists are extremely powerful, and they have a lot of applications in data science and machine learning. Here's an example. In math, we have a concept called matrix, which is like a rectangular array of numbers. Let me show you. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have a rectangular array of numbers. We have rows and columns. So this is a 3 by 3 matrix in math. Now we can model this in Python using a two-dimensional list. A two-dimensional list is a list where each item in that list is another list. So you want to define a matrix, you set it to a list. Each item in this list is going to be another list, and that list represents the items in each row. So the first item in our list is going to be another list, and in this list we're going to have the values 1, 2, and 3. Now the second item in our matrix list. Once again, we have a list. This list represents the items in the second row. So 4, 5, and 6, and finally 7, 8, 9. So as you can see, we have a two-dimensional list. Each item in our outer list is another list. Okay? So this is how we can implement a matrix in Python. Now to access an individual item in our matrix, once again we use square brackets. Let me delete this stuff. Alright. So how do we access one here? Well, we start with our list.
Okay.
We add square brackets. First we need to go and get the first item in this list, right? So we pass 0. Now this expression returns another list. That is the
Wait. I didn't follow up this
so
here.
this is how we can implement a matrix in Python. Now to access an individual item in our matrix, once again we use square brackets. Let me delete this stuff. Alright. So how do we access one here? Well, we start with our list. Then we add square brackets. First we need to go and get the first item in this list, right?
This all is
So
0.
0. Now this expression returns another list. That is the inner list. In this list,
This
we
all
also
is
wanna
0.
access the second
Right.
item. So once again we add square brackets and we pass 1. That is the index of 2 in this list, right? So if we print this on the terminal, we get 2. Okay? So using 2 square brackets, we can access individual items in our matrix. And also we can modify these values using this syntax. So before printing this, let's change it to 20. So matrix of 0 and 1, let's change it to 20 and then print it. There you go.
Why? Equals 20. Print. Oh, okay.
It's modified. Now here we can also use nested loops to iterate over all the items in this matrix. Let me show you. So we start with a rows for row in matrix. So with this loop, we are iterating over our matrix list. In each iteration, row will contain one list, one item. Okay? Now, here we need to use an inner loop. So we need to loop over this row, which is a list of items. We can type out for item in row, colon, and print item. Okay? So let's run this program. There you go. We get all the items in our list.
Okay.
Hey, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. In case you haven't seen my website yet, head over to codewithmosh.com. This is my coding school where you can find plenty of courses on web and mobile application development. In fact, recently I published a comprehensive Python course that goes way beyond this beginner's course on YouTube. And if you're serious about learning Python and getting a job, I highly encourage you to enroll in this course. Just like this tutorial, you can watch it anytime, anywhere, as many times as you want, and you will also receive a certificate of completion that you can add to your resume. And the course comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you're not happy, we give all your money back, no questions asked. The price for this course is $149.
Okay.
But the first 200 students can get it for only $15. So if you're interested, the link is below this video. Click the link and get started. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about the list methods or list functions. These are the operations that we can perform on a list. So let's define a list of numbers. Here we pass a bunch of random numbers like 5, 2, 1, 7, and 4. Now, there are a number of things we can do with this list. We can add new items to it, we can remove existing items, we can check for the existence of an item. These are the operations that we can perform on a list. So when we type numbers dot, we can see all these functions, or more accurately, the
Oh,
methods
sorry,
that are
pop
available
copy
on
index
list
clear,
functions.
reverse,
So we can call the
append.
method to add a new item to this list. Let's say 13. Actually, no, it's not a good number. I'm joking, I'm not superstitious. So let's add 20. Doesn't really matter. And then print our list. When we run the program, you can see 20 is added at the end of this list. But what if you want to add a number somewhere in the middle or at the beginning of our list?
Oh yeah.
For that, we use a different method. That is called insert. So insert. Now this method takes two values. Let me show you. So when we open parentheses, look at this little tooltip above the insert method. You see the first value that we need to pass here is an index. So this is the index at which we want to insert this new item. Let's say we want to add an item at the beginning of our
Index
list.
and object, yeah.
Pass the index position of 0. And then the second value is the actual object we want to add to this list. Let's say we want to add the number 10. Now when we print this list, you can see that the number 10 is placed at the beginning of the list,
Right.
and all the other items are pushed to the right.
What if we put
We
it
can also
here?
remove an item, so
2.
we call remove and pass
Right.
the item that we want to remove. Let's say we want to remove 5. Now we print our list, so you can see 5 is gone, and we have 2, 1, 7, 4. If you want to remove all the items in the list, you can call.
Wait. Remove's not working. Reverse now. Oh, remove. Remove. Print. Yes, it's removed.
So clear. This method doesn't take any values, so we simply call it and it empties our list. All the items are removed. We also have another useful method called pop, and with this we can remove the last item in a list. Let me show you. So run our program. You can see the number 4 is removed from the end of our list. Now if you want to check for the existence of an item in a list, you can call the index method. So we call index and pass a value here like 5, and this returns the index of the first.
Didn't delete number 3. 0, 1, 2. Oh, okay. Okay, not number 3, the third item on the list. So if I want to delete 3, I will pop 1. Okay.
First occurrence of this item. So let's print this on the terminal. We don't need this line anymore. So the index of 5 is 0. What if we pass a number that doesn't exist in this list? Let's say 50. Run the program. We get an error. We get a value error. 50 is not in the list.
Okay.
There is also another way to check for the existence of an item. We can use the in operator.
Oh shit, I spilled some water in here. Sorry everyone.
So let me show you. We type out 50 in numbers. Earlier we used the in operator with a string. We could check for the existence of a character or a sequence of characters in a string. Now here we're checking for the existence of 50 in the list of numbers. So let's print this. We get a Boolean value, false. So unlike the index method, this expression doesn't generate an error. So it's safer to use this. We also have another method for counting the occurrences of an item. Let's say we have another 5 over here. Now we can call numbers.count and pass 5, and this should return 2 because we have 2 5s in this list. Take a look. There you go. That is pretty useful. Now, if you want to sort your lists, you can call the sort method. So we call the sort method here. This method doesn't take any values, so look at the return value. That is none. None is an object in Python that represents the absence of a value. So this sort method doesn't really return any values. It simply sorts this list in place. So instead of printing the return value of this method, we simply call it to sort our list and then print our list. Take a look. Now all the items are...
Oh, let me try that. Sort without any value. 1 3 5 6 8. Right.
Sorted in ascending order. We can also sort the items in descending order. So after we sort the list, we can call the reverse method, and this simply reverses our list. Now let's go ahead and run our program. Take a look. Our numbers are sorted in descending order. And one last method I want to show you here that is pretty useful is the copy method. So copy. With this method, we can get a copy of our list. So let's define another variable called numbers2. Now numbers2 is a copy of our original list. So if you make any changes to our original list, if you add new items to it, if you remove existing items, these operations are not going to impact our second list. Let me show you. So after we take a copy of our numbers list, let's add a new item to this list. So numbers.append 10. So the first list is updated. So now we have a new item in our first list. Then let's print the second list. Take a look. We don't have the number 10 here because these are two independent lists. So these are all the operations that we can perform on lists. We can add new items to a list. We can remove existing items. We can check for the existence of an item. We can sort our lists and copy them. Now here's the exercise for this tutorial. I want you to write a program to remove the duplicates in a list. Again, this is a fantastic exercise, so spend a few minutes on this and then come back, continue watching.
How can we do that now? Let's see. 3 again, 6, and then 10, and then 2, and then another 2, and then a third 2, and 8, and 7, and 1, and 9. Okay. Is there a function for that? For number in numbers, right? Print number, print number, and then if, right, if number equals no, wait. How to remove the duplicated numbers. That's interesting. I wanted to store each number in a place and then compare the new numbers to that yani store. Okay. I don't know how to do that. Like we get 5, okay, print 5, but also store it in another list. And then if 5 doesn't equal any item on the list, then print it. And then 3, you get the 3 back, right? Like you get the 3, you print number 3, but also store it in the same list. Oh, before you print it, check if 3 equals to 5. And then, if it's not, then, yeah. Then print 3. And then we go again, number 6. Let's store it in the list. If number 6 doesn't equal 5 or 3, print number 6. And then we go to number 8. And then 1 and 3. When we go to this 3, we say, let's store it in a new list. Does it equal 1 or 8 or 6 or 3? Yes. So don't print. Skip. And then, Alright.
Alright, let's say we have a list of numbers with a bunch of duplicates. So 2, 2, 4, 6, 3, 4, 6, 1. We want to remove the duplicates. So we need to define another list. Let's call that Unix. Initially we set it to an empty list. Then we need to iterate over our first list, get each item, and if we don't have that number in this Unix list,
exactly.
add it to the second list.
Yeah, that's what I
Simple
thought.
as that.
That's
So
what I thought. But I
for
didn't know how to
number
write it. For
in
number in
numbers.
numbers.
Now we need to check to see if we have this number in the second list. So we use the in operator. If number
If number
not in Unix,
not
so note that here
in
we are using the not operator.
not
So if we don't
in
have this number
Unix,
in this Unix list, then we'll need to add it. So Unix.append number. That's all we have to do. So let's go ahead and
append
print the Unix list.
number.
There you go. So we have 2, 4, 6,
Oh.
3.
Didn't work for me. Alright. Print Unix. Print Unix. Okay. Boom. I got the idea, but I didn't know how to implement it. I understood. Yeah, I just didn't know how to do it exactly.
And 1. The duplicates are removed.
Interesting. I'm proud of myself. Ish.
In
Tuples?
this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about another important structure in Python called tuple.
Tuple.
Tuples are similar to lists, so we use them
Tuples.
to store a list of items. But unlike lists, we cannot modify them. We cannot add new items. We cannot remove existing items. We say tuples are immutable. We cannot mutate or change them. Let me show you. So I'm going to start by defining a list of numbers. 1, 2, 3. So we use square brackets to define lists and parentheses to define tuples. So if we change this to parentheses, 1, 2, 3, now we have a tuple. So if we type numbers dot, look here we don't have the append or insert methods. So we cannot add new items to this tuple. We also don't have remove, clear, and pop. We cannot remove any of these items here. We only have 2 methods, count and index. We use count to count the number of occurrences of an item, and index to find the index of the first occurrence of an item. So we can only get information about a tuple. We cannot change it. And by the way, these other methods that you see here,
Yeah.
they start with 2 underscores. We refer to these as magic methods. They're more of an advanced topic, so they go beyond the scope of this tutorial. If you're interested to learn about them, you can get my Python course. I've covered them in detail. So, similar to lists, we can access individual items using square brackets. So we can get the first item like this and then print it on the terminal. There you go. The first item is 1. But if you try
Okay.
to change the first item, we'll
I
get an error.
can't.
So numbers of 0, we set it to 10 and run our program. There you go.
Yeah.
Get this type error
You can't.
because the tuple object does not support item assignment. So we cannot mutate or change tuples. They are immutable. Now practically speaking, most of the time you'll be using lists, but tuples are also useful. If you want to create a list of items and you want to make sure that nowhere in your program you accidentally modify that list, then it's better to use a tuple.
Okay. Unpacking.
In this tutorial, I'm going to show you a powerful feature we have in Python called unpacking. So let's define a tuple called coordinates. And here we pass 3 values, 1, 2, 3. So imagine these are the coordinates for x, y, and z. Now let's say we want to get these values and use them in a few expressions, in a few complex expressions in our program. Maybe we want to include them as part of a large complex formula. So to get them, we'll have to write code like this. Coordinates of 0, then let's say we want to multiply this by coordinates of 1, and then multiply it by coordinates of 2. Our code is getting a little bit too long. This is just a very simple example. But let's say we want to use these values in quite a few places in our program. So a better approach is to get these values and store them in separate variables. Like we can get coordinates of 0 and store it in x. Then we get coordinates of 1 and store it in y. And similarly, we get coordinates of 2 and then store it in z. Now instead of repeating coordinates of 2 or coordinates of 0 multiple times, we can simply work with these variables, x times y times z. That is better, right? So nothing new so far. But in Python, we have a powerful feature called unpacking, and with that we can achieve the same result with far less code.
Really?
So we can define our variables x, y, and z and set them to our tuple. What we have on line 6 is exactly identical to what we have on lines 2 to 4.
Wow.
So this is a shorthand to achieve.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
let me delete this and explain how this code works. When Python interpreter sees this statement, it will get the first item in this tuple and
Store it as
this
x.
variable. Then it will get
Right.
the second item in this tuple.
Store it as y.
Assign it to the second variable. And similarly, it will get the third item in this tuple and assign it to the third variable we have here. So we are unpacking this tuple into 3 variables. Now, if we print x, you can see x is 1. Similarly, y is 2. There you go. So this is unpacking. And by the way, this is not...
Wait, it's not working with me. Why? Why it's not working? Invalid? What about why? What? Why? Okay. Everything matters when you write a program.
Tuples, you can use this feature with lists as well. So if I change parentheses to square brackets, now coordinates is a list, so we can unpack this list into 3 variables. Now, run our program, you can see y is 2. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about dictionaries in Python. We use dictionaries in situations where you want to store information that come as key value pairs. Here's an example. Think of a customer. A customer has a bunch of attributes like name, email, phone number, address, and so on. Now, each of these attributes has a value. For example, the name can be John Smith, the email can be john@gmail.com, the phone can be whatever. So what we have here is a bunch of key value pairs. So in this example, our keys are name, email, and phone, and each key is associated with a value. So this is where we use a dictionary. With a dictionary, we can store a bunch of key value pairs. So let me show you how to define a dictionary in Python. Back to our program, I'm going to define a variable, customer, and here we set it to curly braces. With these curly braces, we can define a dictionary. In this example, we have an empty dictionary that doesn't have any key value pairs. Now we can add one or more key value pairs in between the braces. So let's add a key value pair here. I'm going to set the key to name and the value to John Smith. Then we add a comma to add another key value pair. So let's set age to 30. Let's add another key value pair is underline verified, and we set this to a boolean. Now what matters here is that these keys should be unique. So if I add another key value pair here, let's set age to 40. Now look, PyCharm has highlighted age key because we have duplicated that, and that's not allowed. So each key should be unique in a dictionary, just like the dictionaries we have in the real world. In a real dictionary, we have a bunch of words and their definition. Each word is listed only once in a dictionary. We don't have the word book twice. So let's delete this second duplicate key value pair.
Okay.
So the keys should be unique. And in this example, I'm using strings, but they can also be numbers. We're going to look at that later. But the value can be anything. It can be a string, a number, a boolean, a list, literally anything. Now we can access each item in this dictionary using square brackets. So we type customer, square brackets, and then specify a key, like name. And this will return the value associated with the name key. Let's print it on the terminal, have a look. There you go. So the name is John Smith. Now what if you pass a key that doesn't exist? Let's say birth date. Run the program. We get a key error because we don't have a key called birth date. Also, if you spell name with, let's say, a capital N, we get the same error because we don't have a key with the exact same series of characters in this dictionary.
So
now to get around this, we can use the get method.
Upper or lower.
Instead of using the square brackets, we call the get method and specify our key. Now if you use a key that doesn't exist here, it doesn't yell at us. For example, if you pass birth date, it simply returns a non-value. Earlier I told you that none is an object that represents the absence of a value. So instead of getting a key error,
none. Okay.
Not. Then we can also optionally supply a default value. For example, if this dictionary doesn't have this key, we can supply a default value. Let's say January 1st, 1980. Let's run the program. Now instead of getting none, we get this default value. So this is how we can access the value associated with a key in a dictionary. We can also update these values. For example, before a print statement, we can write code like this. Customer of name. Let's update the name to Jack Smith. Now this little warning here is telling us that we could simply put Jack Smith here instead of defining it once and then update it. Don't worry about that, it doesn't really matter. Now with this line, if we print the name of this customer, we should see Jack Smith. Let me show you. So I'm going to use the square bracket notation again. Let's print the name of the customer. You can see that is updated here. We can also add a new key here. Let's set the birth date to some value like January 1st, 1980. And then we can print it here. So as you see, we can easily add new key value pairs to a dictionary. So this is the basics of using dictionaries in Python. They're extremely important and they have a lot of applications in the real world. Okay, here's an exercise for you. So here we have this program that asks our phone number. Let's type 1, 2, 3, 4. We type it in digits and then this will translate it to words. Take a look. Enter. It prints 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a pretty cool program. So go ahead and spend a few minutes on this exercise. It's pretty easy. I will see you next.
It's just 1 equals 1. 1 equals 1. 2 equals 2. 3 equals 3. Right? And then input, phone, and then no. Wait. Numbers equal here or here, because I don't want to change it. Here. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then or what he just did. What was the function? I'm sorry. Go back. Yeah, a list. So numbers equal this way. No, 1 equals 1. 2 equals 2. Do here. Yeah. 3 equals 3. 4 equals right. And then here. No. Yeah. Print right, print input right. Okay. 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3, and 4 equals 4, right? The fuck is wrong with you?
Basics of using dictionaries in Python. They're extremely important. Take a look. Enter.
It's exactly the same. Here, 1. Oh, okay. It needs to be this way. Okay. Are we good now? Are we good? Finally. 1, 2, 3. What? 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 Print fine. So what should I do?
We have word.
What do you want me to do?
Okay, here's an exercise for you. Pretty cool for phone. We get the result and store it in this variable. Now let's say the user enters 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to loop through this string, get each character, and translate it to a word. So what we need to implement this scenario is a dictionary, because a dictionary is a structure that allows us to map a key to a value. So we can have a dictionary with keys like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we map each of these keys to a word. So we can map the digit 1 to the word 1. We can map.
How did you do that? I didn't know I can do that. I did not know. Wait. Phone equal here, right? Happy. Input phone. Right. So we're not making whatever that is a dictionary. So this is not important now. Here, obviously, this is what we need to do. Here,
to TWO, you got the point. So let's define a dictionary. We can call it digits underline mapping. Now in this dictionary, I'm gonna add a few key value pairs. 1, we map it to 1.
I just did that.
2,
I just did
2,
that. Dude,
3,
you're killing me.
3, and finally 4 to 4. Now technically we should add all the digits from 0 to 9, but I don't want to waste your time typing repetitive things here. You got the point. So let's move on. Now we need to loop through the phone string. So for character in phone, we get each character and then use it to access a key value pair.
Why this is what's going on in here right now? I know, because I did that, it didn't work, and then this dude told me to do something different. The digits mapping, okay, equal. Here you go. And here you go. Okay, are we good now? No, we're not good, because this doesn't seem good. Unsolved reference, no document. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? For, I don't know what CH.
Dictionary. So digits underline mapping. We can use square brackets or call the get method. I would prefer to use the get method. So in case the user enters some character that is not part of our dictionary, our program is not going to yell at them. So we call the get method and pass this character as the key. And if we don't have this key, we can supply a default value like an exclamation mark. So with this, we'll get a word. Now we need to add this word to an output string. So we can define an output string. Initially, we set it to an empty string. In each iteration, we get this and add it to our output string. So we type output plus equals this. And we should also add a space at the end. So the words are not close to each other. Okay? That's all we have to do. Now finally, let's print this output, run our program. So I'm going to type 1, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what we get. We get 1, 3, 4.
I know, something's not working. It's perfectly done and still not working. Input phone equals input phone. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say. What is CH? I still don't know what is CH in here.
exclamation mark. We have to do. Now finally, so we type output plus equals this, and we should also add a space at the end. So the words are not close to each other, okay? That's all we have to do. Now finally, let's print this output, run our program. So I'm gonna type 1, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what we get. We get 1, 3, 4 with an exclamation mark.
I don't think I'm good at. Anywho, let's call it for today. I will have to do something really quickly, and then maybe, like, I don't know, in 2 hours I'll be back. We can continue. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and in the comments section, please write me anything that might help me.